What's up, guys? Welcome to A Reseller's Life. Today, I have the privilege of talking to Dan Williams. How's it going? Before we get into the interview, why don't we let people know where you live and where they can find you if they want to reach out?
Sure. We are currently based in Amherst, Massachusetts. We have a brick and mortar storefront here. We have a website. It's massvintage.com. We do have our eBay as well that we link, but it's kind of like separate from the store. The eBay is like the vintage is the Mass Vintage. Our Instagram is at Mass Vintage. That's where we put all the gear that goes to the website and kind of the gear that's in the store. But otherwise, like, it depends on what you're looking for, really. Because if you're looking for vintage, I direct people towards the Instagram and the website. But if you're looking for more like anything, potentially wholesale, whatever, I kind of steer them towards the eBay.
So I'll put that in the link below, everybody, at Mass Vintage on Instagram. Pretty straightforward. Do you mind giving us a little bit of a tour before we get started? What does your shop look like? You are sort of the definition of a business, not just, this is not a hobby for you.
No, it was. It definitely, it slowly, um, grew limbs and kind of took over my life. But yeah, this is our full-time gig. It's me, my wife, and my brother full-time, and then we do have one part-time employee, Danny.
That's a pretty small crew for that type of operation. You guys are in Amherst?
Yes, sir. I don't know if I'm walking you over with the laptop, but if you've ever been to Amherst, you know Antonio's Pizza is like the go-to downtown spot. It's literally right up the alley up there. So
Wow.
we're like kind of tucked in the back here. We're in like the back little plaza. Our building used to be at Knights of Columbus, but gentlemen's clubs have kind of died down recently, and it was open, so they were leasing it out. And our landlord is amazing. He's really been hooking us up. So when you come in the front door, we try to hit you right away with some nostalgia. It doesn't look how it typically does because we're in COVID operation, but you walk into the VHS area, we usually got a movie playing. Oh, this is perfect. We got our boy Louie usually rolls up on you. And then you come in, say hi, Matt. Maddie's over there.
Beautiful.
And yeah, we just try to hit you with a lot. Typically, there are like shirts all up along here, kind of like the grails or a little bit more expensive pieces. But yeah, my goal was like when you walk in, you really just need to be like,
Too.
I'm back in the '80s or I'm back in the '90s or
So, or yeah, that's right, because that's why the ceilings are high. That's that is so cool. What a great spot for people to walk into. How long have you had the brick and mortar?
We opened September 7th, 2019, so it's just last fall. We tried to time it with like the school year because we are about a mile from the UMass campus, so
That's so
definitely
cool.
relying on
So, are
faithful.
you guys closed right now? Have you guys reopened?
We are currently closed. Massachusetts still on a stay-at-home. I think within the next month or so, we are going to try to do some shop by appointment. But with Maddie's about 30 weeks pregnant at the moment, so we are trying
Wow.
to be as careful as we can with like interacting with people. My brother's like the only one that goes out into real public. He goes to the grocery store, but otherwise we're just like come here, take photos, do our thing, and go home.
That's so cool. And this is also, you had showed me before the interview also like your basement area, but you have designated work areas, even your break space is that loft.
Yes, sir. I'll take you up there.
So cool.
So,
Um,
checkout desk typically, and then this is like the little employees only. Because it was the Knights of Columbus, there's dual bathrooms. Super lucky that we have like the men's and women's. And then behind it, you go up my treehouse. And this one, like when he was showing us the lease, man, I was like, whoa, like when you come up the stairs and then you get to kind of like look
that is
over.
really, really, really cool.
Amazing. And then there's like a little area over here. We put like the fake wall, and we just got like a little shipping area.
That's like the dream. If you ever grow old still having this operation, you can sit at the top and just see your creation.
See the guys like in the theater on the balcony, yeah, just criticizing everyone's outfits as they're walking.
Right. That's cool. So let us know a little bit about how you got into this. You started online first. Maybe talk about how you got interested in reselling in the first place.
Yeah, it was it's actually perfect. I'm gonna walk back in. So last part of so this is our hat room.
Hmm.
And this kind of was how it started. So I was a vintage 80s, 90s hat geek in college. I really, really like the fit and the old styles of the of the 80s and 90s hats compared to how they make them now. Because like, if you get a hat now, a sports hat especially, it's very tall. Like all the brands are, it just doesn't fit well. The qualities are kind of copycat. And so in college, I just started collecting some hats, this teams and styles that I enjoyed. Once it got to a point where I spent like 200 or 300 bucks, I was like, damn, like I really, as a college kid, I can't just be blowing all this money. So I was like, I need to look for lots. And I would grab like 10, 20, 30, whatever I could grab, keep any that I liked and clean and resell the rest. And that money would kind of just be my like buying hats money. Um, and for a few months, I kind of just stumbled about on either eBay or other, there weren't many. This was in like 2014. So there weren't many reselling apps at the time, but I I finally found hashtag WWVSE on Instagram, which was like the portal, like WWVSE. It's actually a hat Facebook group. It's like a private group for hat collectors, and it stands for Worldwide Vintage Snapback Exchange. So,
That's cool because a lot of resellers start out as collectors. You collect something and then you either want to fuel your hobby or make yourself feel less guilty. But it's nice if you buy a lot of 20 or 30, that means you get your gear essentially for free if you get it at a good deal.
that's how I saw it for sure. That's how my brain was working it, at least justifying like keeping what were usually the nicer end hat. It was like, okay, if you can break even, you got your hats for free. If you can make a little money, maybe you can buy other hats that were involved in this lot. And then it slowly, someone suggested me like, oh, you're looking for old hats, you got to go to a thrift store. And then when I went to thrift, it was like, again, another portal into like, so you just start to pick up clothes. I think, like you said, when you start as a collector, it's good because you stay within your niche for a little while.
Hmm.
And then like for me, it was like sports tees at first, and then I got into like a little polo and Tommy, like the things that you see
Hmm.
other accounts on Instagram that you're following, posting. You can check in on their website or just on their page. You do your own research just by consuming their content or whatever. So we definitely just, or I, it wasn't even Maddie for a while. It was just me in my dorm or in my apartment at college, slowly like keeping a little bin or two or half of my closet. And then, as you know, I'm sure it just slowly grows and grows and grows. You're like usually the worst at selling in the beginning too. So like you're either kind of picking up duds or you're not listening super properly or you haven't figured out your platform yet. So it just slowly grew till I left UMass. I ended up going, so I got a animal science degree from UMass Amherst.
Okay.
I had originally gone into UMass intending to be a veterinarian, and then that transitioned about halfway through when I decided didn't want to go to vet school. I was going to be a dairy cattle nutritionist. So spent my last couple years focusing heavily on dairy cattle. I ended up applying and getting into grad school at UNH
Hmm.
for a dairy cattle nutrition master's program. So
Wow. Okay.
went to UNH. This was so I graduated UMass in May of 2016, went to UNH in September of 2016. Maddie moved up with me. We've been together since freshman year of high school. So we went to Lemster High together. We went to UMass together. She followed me up to New Hampshire, and we got an apartment together, our first apartment, while I was a grad student at UNH. So I was doing like still mass vintage. It was definitely a side thing, but probably had a couple hundred items. Hat collection getting more serious, like knowing what I'm doing. And then like 9 months into my program, it was getting real serious. I had like around 2,000 items, and I was like 40 days into my 4x4 Latin square design study on dairy cows, where I was like every day up at 4 a.m. feeding the cows, either doing rations and nutritions, and then I would go to my own classes. I was a TA for an anatomy lab. So the mass vintage was like a nice little getaway. It was like it never seems like work when you're enjoying it, but it also definitely doesn't seem like work when the work that you're doing otherwise is like research papers and stuff like that or whatever. So it came to a point where it was like really tearing me. I was making very good money on
Right.
the side and was also lucky enough to have gotten a grant to go to UNH. So I wasn't paying per se, but I was getting paid to TA. So, I was
Amazing. Yeah.
financially comfortable, and it just got to a point where like, you can't fight the urge to do what you really want for so long. Like I was putting in like the 30 hours of the week at the end and the beginning of the day, and I
Yeah.
just wanted it to be like every day. I knew like the potential I had with the selling and stuff. So um very hard decision, and I had to check in, of course, with like my family. And this was, I committed 16 years or whatever of education to something that I had decided now that wasn't right for me. It wasn't, separate topic, not right for the world. We're vegan now. We went vegan in
Wow.
2017 actually.
Just
So like
full
animal ag,
circle.
I
Yeah.
got let in the back door of the animal ag industry and just like, no, 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 not for me. So luckily I did have something that I truly enjoyed and was able to fall back on. And so in June of 2017, I 40 days of it was an 84-day trial, and 40 days in, I did let them know like I am more like, more than sorry. The disappointment that I had to express to them like wasn't it's so much. So I collected all the data. We went through the 84 days of the trial, and I
Mhm.
gave them data, but did tell them like, I'm sorry, but come June, I'm going to give you the data, and I have to part with the program. I'm sorry. So it was a lot. Had to like literally drop out of grad school to do this, but
Man.
wouldn't have done it without knowing that it could be something with, that could come to fruition or whatever. So
So that at that point, it's all in your house?
it is my Maddie and I's apartment in New Hampshire was like tote on top of tote on top of tote, closets falling out, like anywhere where there could be clothes, there were clothes.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of clothes and hats myself or whatever. So clothes everywhere. She was working full time. She got a job as a mental health professor or counselor up there. So whenever she wasn't working, she's, same thing, helping photo and all that stuff. So before she was working, she was always working. So
That's insane. I have a few draws from that. One, you got really good at hats first. So
yeah.
once you have that skill, now your mass vintage, which I assume is more than one category, dozens of categories actually in your store. Is that your collection or is that a storefront behind you?
This is the just like hats that are available. These are all on the website and stuff.
That's super cool.
I learned very quick, not very quickly. I guess it took a while, but like by now, we kind of have a decent audience on the Instagram and website and stuff. So if I post stuff that's mine, like even if you're very clear and try to be like just sharing and like friendly, like hey, like wearing this today, like I just wanted to show it. Like you're gonna get, people are gonna go on the website looking for it and they get it. So I try to keep it separate nowadays because people get very upset when like you're just flexing on them or whatever.
That's so true. Yeah. So and so let's talk about that for a minute. If you post it online versus Instagram versus in store, is the pricing different? How do you weigh what goes in the store versus what goes online? How do you approach that?
So it's different now with the whole pandemic, but but when we were opening or when we were open and kind of operating normally with the store, we're buy sell trade, which is like my favorite, the coolest part, and like my favorite part about the store, and like stores that are like us, like it's like GameStop, but it's so much, but it's like the coolest thing concept to me when I realized that stores do this, like you can literally, buy sell trade, bring in gear, mind blowing. So I love that we're buy sell trade. People can bring in totes, bags, whatever. They bring stuff in all the time. So as stuff comes in every day, we bring it home and wash it. Everything is washed. All the hats are hand washed and reshaped because when you get them, they're pancakes. They're dirty. They're sweaty, nasty. So I think a big thing that kind of separates us, especially with the vintage hats, is crispy. Everything you can put right on your head, no questions asked.
Wow.
So we take pride in that because like it's time consuming and like it does mean a lot, and it does allow us to increase an item's value substantially. But it's a decent process when you have to take things home every single time and bring them back before you process them. So we bring them home, wash them, clean them, reshape them, whatever they need. And then when I bring them back, like you said, it definitely this is where you kind of split it between, all right, is this an eBay item? Is this a website item? Is this in store? Are we going to put it on the website, but also in store? Because we go through Shopify.
Hmm.
When we opened the store, we blew up our Weebly. We had a Weebly for our website, but we just found that Shopify was like much more friendly as far as if you are going to cross list. It's huge because Weebly doesn't link to eBay. It doesn't link to, maybe it does now, but at the time didn't link to eBay. It didn't really have the greatest storefront situation. So um, if there's a super hot item, like we will put it in both the store and on the website.
Hmm.
But for the most part, we tried to keep it where 20 or 30 items were going out to the store every day. We had certain items, whether it was 5 or 30, going to the website each day. And then for a while, the eBay was mainly just like non-vintage, super flawed. And honestly, sometimes with vintage, if you're talking like a 70s or 80s tee, you got to expect flaws or holes, or it's going to be an extra small or whatever. So we can't ask, not that we can't, but we're around a college town. You can't ask 40 or $50 on a raggedy t-shirt, even if there's a market for it on eBay. It's like, it's just better off putting it there rather than trying to get scoffs when people come in and say, "Oh, it's $50, got holes in it." Like, no
Right.
matter if that's the value to someone, you got to find where that someone is, you know? So it's like, we do put either true vintage or things that are, they do have those issues on the eBay too. Because our in-store focus is definitely 80s and 90s. If you're at UMass or if you are my age, you grew up, you know, this is what you're looking for. You're not really looking for like 80s. You want like Paul Pierce, not Larry Bird. As weird
Yep.
as it is, like, we get a
No,
bunch of
I
Bird
got you.
stuff, but
I
like
got you.
the kids in college now are born in 2000.
It's very different. Yeah. Then they're looking maybe for Steph Curry stuff. It's
No,
very
that's
different.
eBay. Item.
But so, one thing I want to point out before we move on is that there's a difference between done and the best you can do. So you can just list the hat as soon as you get it, or you could list it the best that you can, which requires hand cleaning, letting it dry, presenting it in a, your pictures are very distraction free, so you can just see the item. I think that's super important, and your presentation is everything. The way your store is laid out, you mentioned when you walk in, you get that pop. That's going to help people get over the hurdle of buying something.
Mhm,
People want to support small business. They like the feel. It's, and also putting the grails above is literally like a what is it, like a spiritual thing.
mhm. It's like a
You know, you're
display
seeing
case.
something that's smart too, because that's what they do in churches.
Mhm.
They make you look up at this crazy stuff and you feel different.
Sets the mood, man. Yeah, it really. It's like a
That's the
second
mood.
movie. It definitely,
Awesome.
it allows the brain to kind of relax and like doesn't. It's not so much of heavy pressure sales situation. Like, I don't. If someone comes into the store, I'm just as happy to have a conversation with them about, oh, my cousin had it, or whatever it is, rather than like shoving something down their throat and having them never come in again. That's the goal. It's like,
So now, what, I mean, before this situation, was a lot of your stuff that you were selling coming through the front door, or do you still have to go out and hunt and look for it?
that's the beauty of it. Yeah, I mean, hats, not so much. Like, we get some hats that walk in, but we do buy a lot of our hats online through wholesalers or in hat lots or just trying to snipe on eBay or something. But clothing wise, yeah, because more of like it's a time consuming thing to go hunting, and we were very fortunate that there are other resellers in the area or people who walk by the store and see the sign and clear out their attic or basement or whatever. All sorts of people come through with all different groups of stuff. So we were getting probably 60 to 80% of our clothing at least from people walking in the door. We were very fortunate that we had about 7,000 items when the store opened up, just from like
Wow.
online in the warehouse and stuff, just thrifting or just saving, save. Always just if it had value and I had the money and it had potential, and you buy it. And just a big part of like what this turned into over time was like started as collecting hobby for sure, but I think the big push now and the like driving motive, I get like the why, I suppose, in a lot of the businesses, like the sustainability aspect of it too. So like I'm sure you know, and many others that I hear on the calls and stuff, like once the clothes wheel away, or once everyone's had their look, they're going somewhere that's not really good for any. Like, there are charitable you know instances, but for the most part, they're getting incinerated. They're gonna sit in a hole. It's a waste, man. It really is. So it's, even if you flip something for, or if you buy something for $1 to flip it for 7 on eBay. We just recently really took advantage, but I made like a postcard size um, handout or whatever.
Hmm.
Just says at Mass Vintage, massvintage.com. Thank you for the purchase. We appreciate your feedback. Just a little something where if you present the product well, get it to them on time, it's nice. You might have a customer for life because they can follow the Instagram, and then they're kind of hooked. Like, you got them for 3 to 5 times a day if they're still interested in your genre of things. So
I just added a thank you card, and it's huge. It helps. Like,
truly.
people get it. They can follow you, and I think even more important now, like, people like following certain people. They like buying from a person that didn't exist before.
I agree.
You can buy all your clothing directly from the person who invented it now. That did
Hmm.
not happen before. You can buy somebody's personal collection. There's a million sites now that used to all be eBay's business. There's Grail, there's Vinted, there's all of them focus on like one category. There's Goat, there's StockX, because eBay actually, they know it too. They didn't do a good job of segmenting because they're so big.
Hmm.
So it left room in the market for people to come in and just take one piece of it. And eBay, it's just too big. With a billion listings, they can't be nimble. So for you and myself, we can come in, create a small business in a specific niche. You could have a store that's all hats.
Hmm.
It can be like that.
Yeah.
Um, but it's cool that you have. I love that, the fact that people can come in, get a decent deal. What would you say like the average sale price is of an item in your store?
A single item is
Yeah,
20, 25 bucks.
yeah,
All day.
that's amazing. Very reasonable.
Mhm.
So I was just talking in my call this morning about the king of discount goods is Ross.
Yeah.
And Ross, you and I might go in there and find nothing and not buy anything, but the average consumer goes in there and they're coming out with 5 things, 10 things, 15 things, and their average sale price is $12. It's
Wow.
not it's not a lot. So it makes you think, wow, that's most people spend $12. You have a specialty store. It's nice to think about people are willing to spend a little bit more. But I mean, I imagine like Foot Locker is probably like $80 or $60 on average. Very different and different clientele. I like that you care so much about the customer experience, because I feel like if I walked into your store, 25 bucks seems cheap.
Yeah. Hope. I mean, yeah, because there's so many points. Like, we have a little sign outside where, like, you know, a $12 T-shirt and a $20 T-shirt. But like you said, you're supporting a small business. You're reusing or upcycling the material and preventing it from being incinerated. You're supporting, and for us, we push this a lot, like local alumni. And like, we have 3 alumni. Maddie went to UMass. I went to UMass. My younger brother went to UMass in 2019.
Wow.
Uh, so, like, there's so many different aspects. If you buy it in person too, you're saving on. You're not using wasteful shipping material, or
Yeah.
having to throw things away, or use the gas where Amazon would drive it over to you, like whatever it is. So many. Or my biggest point is, like, the waving point for me is, like, we sell so many different types of things.
Yep.
I know for a fact, if you find something in our store you like, go home and find, like, even if you brought me 10 things and I only like 3 of them, you could probably get your item for free still, just on credit. And,
That's
like, that's what I say to these college kids, and they're like, sometimes, they get a little ballsy and they're like, $80. They'll come up and say it. And I'm like, dude, yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but, like, that's $100 shirt anywhere else on the vintage market online. So it's already at a quote unquote discount. We try to be around 80%, or, like, very fair. And you can literally get it for free if you just go take some stuff that you don't even use anymore. And you should feel really good about support. It's just like, I want to hit them with so many, but you try not to be rude. You just, eventually, customers really do understand it. They come in, and when their friend does it, we hear them saying, "Oh no, like, this is the reason why. This is the original." When they say, like, "I could get this at Urban for 60, Urban Outfitters, if it's a Champion hoodie or something," and their friend, who's been here before, their birth, say, "Nah, this is the original one from the 90s. This is 100% cotton. This is made in USA. This is the one you want. You're supporting." Like, so that, there's You either get it or you don't. It's kind of how it is.
Let's talk about the buy sell trade part. Are most people who come and buy sell trade, are they looking for to get a deal so they can buy something in the store, or do you have like people who bring you a lot of stuff? And I would call those more like a business to business relationship versus a consumer. Is there a breakdown like that? Do you have some heavy hitters that bring you stuff all the time?
Oh yeah. There's show if I can, I don't know if they'll ever be listening, but shout out to like Mitch and Ben and Jackson, and we have regular people and who come in, once or twice a week, and s- you know, some guys are very consistent with like Mitch will bring in 2 trash bags every Saturday.
Mm,
Some guys just bring in a few pieces that they've thrifted throughout the week, and they just kind of want to talk vintage or whatever. What do you guys find? What's going on this week? You see this on Instagram?
mhm,
And then some people we've never seen and we'll never see again. They come in, maybe they drove 2 hours from New Hampshire or Rhode Island, and they just brought their whole collection one time. And I do try to offer, like when they come in, I just ask them, like, you looking for cash? You looking for credit? I'll tell you that there are going to be goods that I can only offer cash or only offer credit, but let me know what you're thinking. And most people, they don't want it. They're playing the game because they don't. I think I might be wrong, but I think after people come in and deal with us, they do get the idea that like these guys, they're not trying to angle me here. So when they do come in for the first time, they're a little bit more like standoffish.
sure.
'Cause it's a business transaction at the end of the day. I totally understand
Mhm.
that. But after I kind of throw in the first numbers and especially try to lean towards cash or credit, whatever they were hoping for, they're like, oh, damn, like that was actually either like what I was looking for or maybe a little bit more. I'm going to go grab this thing, or maybe my wife's going to grab this thing that we were just walking around, and it works out. So if they ask for credit, I'll give them all credit. If they're looking for cash, I'll give them as much cash as I can give them, and then offer credit on anything else I would take. Because some things, if I'm sending it to the eBay at the end of the day, I don't really want to put cash on it. If I can flip it today or tomorrow or this week on Instagram from one post right from the website, I'll pay like certain items. I'll pay like 80% of what I'm gonna sell for, just because like if especially if they're gonna pull it back, or like you said, if they're resellers and I recognize like can't just lowball this guy. He has an Instagram or an eBay too. He can go list this. Got to respect him or whatever. So
Mhm.
I mean, certain items I'll just you buy it to get it to the customer. It's like
Absolutely. Buying the grail elevates the whole store.
yeah.
It's not uncommon for people to pay exactly what it sells for some piece that's insane because they can flex, they can do advertising with it, get more with it. That makes a lot of sense. Also, here, there's a lot of buy sell trade that have certain days for business buyers or sellers, rather. So, like, if you're going to bring in 2,000 pieces, you can't come in during normal hours because we can't help you. It's got to be a different time, different experience, and that is very different than somebody bringing 10 things versus 2 trash bags. Different kind of customer.
I
So
totally agree.
I love it. And offering, instead of saying, do you want to do business today, if you say cash or credit, they've already, they don't want it anymore. As soon
Right.
as they've picked one, they're they're on their way.
Hmm.
And I always, in my negotiation, I always say, why are you here? Why are you? What brings you to Amherst or something? Someone
Hmm.
would say, oh, you leave it open ended so you can start something that's not related to business,
Makes
build
sense. Yeah.
that rapport, and then when you're talking about the items, whenever I'm buying a lot, I always ask, how do you normally do it? Do you have a spreadsheet that I look through? Do we have to go on eBay for every single item? What are you looking? How do you normally do it? Let's do it that way. Because you don't know. Customers are all different. Some people are like, I want money as soon as possible. Other people are like, I will wait for every penny.
Hmm.
You can't talk to those people the same way.
I totally agree. I'll
Um,
even offer like
but
if they're not a reseller, if they're just a student from UMass, they brought in a couple items from their closet.
mhm.
It's like it's kind of messed up to say, but like they're gonna get more from me than the average person because I'll give them cat. Like if they bring in, even if it's just like a couple tees or sweatshirts that we're gonna put on our floor for $20, I'll offer them like 10 or 15 credit each, or like maybe 10 cash sheets if they're cool ones. Where I would normally offer like maybe only 5 credit or maybe 5 cash to someone who brought in a big group, because like I want them to get something. I want them to be able to find something they like, and I don't want to be GameStop, if you know what I'm saying. Where like
Yep.
bring in one thing and like
Here
they
you
don't. They're
Yeah.
like, I'll get you $1, and you're like, what am I gonna do with $1? Like, what if I offer someone 5 credit on something that I'm going to sell for 20, even though that's what I'd normally do when someone brings in me 100 items. It's like, just give them, I'll tell them like, I'll give you 10 credit on each. If you end up finding something for 25, that's fine too. You know
I,
what I mean? Because like,
I've heard that from a couple of buy sell trade where they say they overpay if it's a consumer.
yeah, because it's like,
Yeah,
you want them to say like,
yep,
I like this, but that was fair.
that makes sense.
And if they come back in, if they're going to come in and do it 4 times a week, that's different. But if
That's right.
it happens once a month, and they're at the end of the day, like, I don't want those clothes going in the trash. Like, give them to us. We'll find a new home. We don't got to kill you on the transaction, whatever. Like, it's all good.
So let's talk about how you made the transition because it's a big deal going from your apartment to. Did you go to a warehouse first?
So, June of 2017, I went full time. Started staying home or thrifting, taking pictures all day in my shorts. So Maddie's leaving for work, getting all dressed up professional, leaving me watching 90s movies and taking pictures in the living room or whatever. And that lasted about 3 months. And I needed help. It was getting to the point where I reached my kind of like full listing potential, social media potential for a day without waking up at 3 or whatever. So like I I said I need an employee, and she was already helping so much anyways, and we do and did everything together anyways. So I was like, you know what, if it's something you want to do, and if it's something that your family, your parents, whoever can accept, because it is, to tell mom that you're leaving your job, your college, to sell t-shirts full time. Like, our parents knew much more than that, but like from an outsider's perspective, especially, you hear that, you're like, dude, what's wrong? So in September of 2017, Maddie left her job and joined me full time.
That's amazing.
Put her
And
on the payroll.
and you guys spend every moment together, sort of.
Yeah, she's laughing over it.
So
Yeah.
how does that work? Do you have separate responsibilities? Do you not see each other parts of the day so you can stay sane, or are you okay in the same room?
If she wants to.
No, I'm just getting my water.
No, it's great, dude. It's transitioned a lot over the year. It's constantly changing. That's, I think, the beauty of it, and why I'm already excited. But I'm like so excited even when we have the child. Like, I'm not worried as far as like who's gonna do what, this and that. Like, we have such great communication between her, I, my brother, everyone involved in the business. All conversations are open. We need to always know what's going on, what needs to get done, whatever. So when it started back in like 2017, we'd go do like a huge thrift run 1 or 2 days a week, try to hit as many stores as we could, and just keep adding to the pile. Cleaning hats, photoing hats, those and hats. We were in New Hampshire in the apartment for until like February of 2018. So like 5 months, because we realized, like, why are we paying? We're from Leominster, Massachusetts originally, which is like in central Mass near like Worcester, I guess. And luckily, my father has a company based out of Leominster where he rents like this big, giant, long building for his business, Exhibit Technology. It's like he does trade show booths, so he has a lot of storage and stuff. So he had like this old office area that it was carpeted, no one was using it, hadn't been touched in like 2 years. It's about the size of like a high school gymnasium, huge room. And we were fortunate. He was like, why don't you guys, you don't need to be, we were going home like, 2 or 3 weekends to see the family or friends, and basically living in New Hampshire for no reason now that I wasn't in grad school and we're just like out of our apartment. So we bit the bullet, moved back home in with my parents in Leominster, um, moved everything into the warehouse, and we operated out of the warehouse in Leominster for about a year and a half.
That is
So,
such a good story. Saved money.
yes, sir. Yeah, we live with the parents, save some money, just being around the family. It's nice before we're trans transition into adulthood. Whatever, that last little hurrah at home, it was cool. It wasn't like something we were dying to get right into. Moving back in with parents is always like the lame sound thing. We had been at school and had our own apartment, but like you said, you got to do what you got to do. We aren't gonna just rent an apartment in Leominster while we live there. I was like, no,
That's very humble of you to take that break because one, you're getting the family support, which is nice, and then also you're keeping your overhead low, which is sort of the longest businesses actually take the least amount of risk. I think people think being an entrepreneur is risky, but when you meet people who've been doing it for a while, they minimize their risks as much as possible. They're not, you'll see people jumping straight from, I just learned it, to Office Space.
Mhm.
And you're like, don't let, it's so scary to watch people do that. And the largest eBay store, BHFO, did 65 million last year. They stayed at home until they made 20,000 net. And I'm like, can you imagine being that patient? Like, let's just save a little bit more. And then when they moved, they weren't afraid. They had money in the bank. They were not stressed out. And, they used every square inch of their house first. Then it was so nice getting that commercial space, dedicated areas like you have. Well, let's take a quick reflection moment. Let's say you got to start over. Somebody came in and bought every piece and they sent it to their store in Shanghai. So now you're empty. You get to start over, but you know what you know now. What would you do different?
Well, to be honest, I think the model that we have as far as storefront, like the model that we now have in place, even though it's closed for pandemic, it's a storefront, website, eBay is like definitely the route that I would initially take right off, because I know now, I know like the back of my hand. When I started, didn't have a website, dealing through Instagram DMs exclusively, where you couldn't even send photos to start. You had to post a picture, get a DM, and then tell people to kick you, so you could kick them the photos, and then you go back to the DMs on Instagram, and then they'd PayPal you through the Instagram, hopefully. And then 7 out of 10 transactions are all flakes, so I'm dealing with people all day long.
Right.
Finally made the website, and that's where you post and you wait for the ching, hopefully. But knowing what I know, that's the way I'd go. eBay, website, store with separated inventory. You would definitely be, I would almost like deny that at a certain rate for sure, because inventory is so hard to get right now. Everyone is clutching on to what they got, man. There's no it's very, very tough. I
Okay.
guess replenishables, like I hear you guys talking all the time about these. I'm about ready to have a little side cart that is no labor making money or marketing for me, where like things are just selling and quote unquote like you don't care about them or whatever. You're just kind of like, business is business or whatever.
So, the replenishable game is interesting because you do one piece of work and continue. Like this morning, I had 3 different sales on. I've been trying to buy some store closeouts. So today I sold 3 pairs of the same exact shoe, and I'm like, this is so easy. Same way to shipping, same shipping, but then you have to constantly be doing business to business thinking, contacting stores. So let me ask you, what do you do with inventory that doesn't sell? Do you have a clearance rack? Do you rotate it in and out? How do you handle aged inventory?
We do have a $10 or 3 for 25 rack in the lobby, which is very helpful for like the college students. I don't mean to sound like cocky or not, like nothing like that, but like we literally don't. If it got to the point where in the store or the website I noticed it was like sitting around too long, it would go to the eBay, and then at this point we're like running 99-cent auctions plus shipping on certain things.
Yep.
I got to tell you my eBay horror story. So that
Sure.
I was below stand. We were below standard until yesterday. The 20th was the reset yesterday, and I'm
Wow.
sorry if it sound like this is an emotional time, bro. For 2 years, we were dealing with being below standard because when we were on Weebly, we had to hand remove. We have 5,000 listings, and we're hand removing every single thing from the website, eBay, pop-ups, in person. Like anything has to just. We always got to check at the end of the day, so stuff falls through the cracks. We would. I think the number was like 44 out of 1,300 where we had to cancel and refund, which is like the worst feeling in the whole world. You spent a whole half hour
Right.
like an idiot scrambling, and you're like, I think it's sold already, but I gotta check. You look through all the black t-shirts 4 times in a row, and then you're like, all right, well, it's not here. And then you finally send the message. They immediately want a refund. They can't even comprehend the idea of looking through the rest of your store for another item, and
Right.
it sucks. So you send them the refund, which is an inconvenience, but at the end of the day, are you really a criminal? Like, you really below standard if you do? Like,
I know.
it happened. So we had 44 out of 1,300 transactions were canceled, putting us at 3.08% over 2%. So therefore, we're below standard.
Yeah.
And we fought and fought and fought, trying to get the numbers back up for so long. And maybe you'll have an idea of why it changed. I'm not the super eBay savvy guy, but it was judging us on a 12-month basis, transaction quantity wise, and then it went down to a 3-month.
That happens when you hit a certain number of transactions.
Okay, because once we went to Shopify with the storefront, everything is linked. So when we put something on the website, we can go onto the Shopify and cross-link it to eBay. But when one sells, it just auto removes from both. It's amazing.
Right.
So our rate now, and especially from the last 6 months, is 0.0000100. It's perfect, mint.
Mhm.
Which is like, again, I'm sure everyone who does it, you take pride in that, man. That's like
Oh, yeah.
that's a nerdy, serious thing. So I did all the numbers and I was like, we need to have 1,800 transactions by May 20th in order to get it to 2%.
Right.
That was the plan. We were doing like 99-cent hat auctions
Mm.
and all the like lower end flawed stuff out as cheap as we could and trying to grab another customer on Instagram. And then out of nowhere, it transitioned to this 3 months and it's like, we're perfect again.
I bought these hats to pad my feedback. I bought 900 of these Brooklyn Nets bucket hats because I saw them in a lot, and I'm like, $3 shipped. I'm never gonna have that happen to me ever, because I'm like, I sell one every day, so I'm just like,
You
this
got 'em for 3 or you sell them for 3?
3 shipped.
That's what you sell them for?
That's what I sell them for, because
That's
I'm
amazing.
so afraid of that, penalty.
Mhm.
And now I'm good, but I'm just like I'm always looking for stuff I can sell for nothing to
Just
just
water
down that fee, because it's so scary.
yeah. And it's funny because like I'll tell people like we're sitting around the campfire and like just shooting shit, whatever, and like people they're talking about what grinds our gears, and we get into this with like the average person, and they're like,
They
"Dude,
don't
what the heck are you talking about?" But like, you start talking to eBay sellers about defect rating, man, and like they'll get out the pitchforks with you. Like,
I
it's great.
know. And the penalty if you have too many defects is now 5%. It went up from 4% to 5%.
I just found that out like
Yeah.
because all right, I cleared my eBay invoice on Monday,
Yeah.
and then I went back in yesterday, like whatever, 3 days later, and it's like $800. You know, I did the subscription and then sales, and I'm like, yo, and I finally look at like the actual fees, and after PayPal and eBay fees, and then the 1% promoted because everything's promoted now, it's
Yeah.
like 20% I was losing on these sales, and I was like, dude, this is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I actually leave it right here. This is my shipping station because it reminds me, let's pad it up, let's figure it out. And I use the verbiage, do you want to look through my store or get an immediate refund? If they say immediate refund, then I can put the reason seller canceled. I'm sorry, buyer canceled.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can put buyer canceled if they request a refund.
I've
Oh,
done that a few times, being like, you know
yeah.
what? I'm risking it. Hopefully they don't report me, but I'm risking it. I didn't know that, man. I would have done that.
Also, one more thing you can do, which is I have 0 defects now because of a couple of things. One, I have that saved. Sorry, my fault. I lost the item, and really it sold somewhere else.
I have a template for that too.
But so then I put, sorry, I lost it. Do you want to look through my store? You probably don't. If you don't want to find something else, I'll give you a full refund. Then sometimes they don't respond, and it's kind of scary. So what you
Yeah.
can also do, this costs you some money, but you can mail them a $5 gift card or something, right? And then when they get it, they're going to be like, or you could do a couple of things. One, you can send them something, and if they request item not as described, it's a little scary because it affects your metric. But if they get it and you give them a refund, you can't get a negative feedback.
Right.
So because if you refund them after they open a case, you automatically win the protection. The other part, I'm not recommending you do this out there, but if you print a label for people and then it gets lost, so let's just say you print a label and then you don't ship it. If they mark item not received and you give them a full refund, then there's no defect either.
That makes
So
sense.
you can avoid defects with a couple ways around eBay's system. And the part that is really scary for me is I'm like, look, for me, the penalty of 5% is thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
You can't, I could be a top-rated seller and have $1,000 penalty. Like
Mhm.
that's ridiculous. So you're playing that game. I'm going to play that game too because I can't. I'm doing a good job. I will give somebody the item for free to not get a negative feedback.
Yeah, and doesn't that just show like what a like to put on like essentially your employees? Like
I know.
this is where I would get break out the pic because like we
Yeah.
have perfect feedback. We ship out every day. Everything's perfect. None of our customers are actually upset. Even the people who got the refund, they're not even that. They're not even bummed.
Yeah.
Like some people are. Sometimes you get like, well, that's nice, and you're like, all right, dude, sorry, like, I don't have time to send you a long sorry note, but
Yep.
it's we feel worse than you do at the end of the day, and that's I just want to get you something and like compensate you or whatever. So
Yeah.
whatever.
I think it's great to build a community. I've been doing this for 3 years on YouTube, and I just started a podcast recently that you listen to, and it's
That's
been great. You get to listen to people who do the same thing, because also you guys, you and your wife. I have a couple more questions, but when you're not working, are you still talking about the business, or do you have some time that's not business?
nowadays. So basically, for the last like 2 years, my brother came on full time with us and moved into where we live in Amherst, the house we rent a house in Amherst together. He came in when we opened the store and like late last summer. Since he joined the crew, he kind of joined the daily routine of like we wake up, we do have our like exercise goals. We want to be making as much of our own food as we can and not be eating out when we can. You don't
Right.
really have a ton of options as like vegan anyways. You either get like Thai food or there's one restaurant over here that's like exclusively vegan, but for the most part, just trying to like either make our food and exercise nowadays, especially getting the dog out and taking walks with Maddie being pregnant, trying to get fresh air. But for me, it's like otherwise, man, like I might like watch if I'm ever watching anything, I'm still work. Like there's no other than like Game of Thrones or Westworld or like something that like it comes out once a week. It's new. It's something we like. We like to watch it. We
Right.
might like not be working then, but otherwise, like if you're sitting on the couch or if you're like watching a movie or like I'm listening. I always got drafts to do or I'm like finding content for Instagram, posting something on Instagram. We're all addicted to our phones anyways too. So even when you don't mean to be, you're sitting on Instagram scrolling anyway. So we definitely like allocate time, but it's not time to like do nothing, quote unquote. Like we're just not really that those type of people or like I like to always do this because I have a drive to like want to whether it's like growing in follower like people who know the page through the Instagram and shop the website regularly or just eBay listings, whatever it is, we're always working.
How did you
Yeah.
bring your brother on?
So he is at Walt Vintage on Instagram if you want to follow
I'll
him.
link it.
He's done um exclusively hats. He only sells hats. So he's done hats. He probably started like a year, maybe a year and a half after I did, started to dabble. That's what little brothers do, man, you know. Older brothers doing what little brothers how to do it. So he came in, started flipping hats. Same thing. While he was at UMass, it was just like a little side hustle. So he didn't have to work in the dining hall or whatever. So he came on full time in September because I knew we would need someone and I luckily like he just graduated. He got a business degree. He wasn't science, he was business. So he did apply and had some interviews with a few companies and I was really hoping he didn't go off and get a corporate job. And luckily he did come on with us. Very fortunate to have Walt. Dude kicks ass. He to have it's invaluable to have someone who works for more time than they're paid. You know, when it breaks down to what we actually pay the man, like he gets pennies on the dollar for the labor that he puts in, but he knows and Maddie we all know that we're building something that hopefully is greater than just like what we make on an everyday basis or whatever. So it's
Are your parents jazzed that you guys work together?
yeah, I mean I think they're not going to tell us they're like the most supportive parent. They're not going to tell us otherwise,
Wow.
but they do seem pretty proud. I think it's something to be proud of. Opening day was really cool. I actually proposed to Maddie on our ribbon cut, and so we did like a
Wow.
9, 8, and I was like, hold on, like pull out the ring, and
Wow.
just between like the engagement and opening the store and having success in the store and finding out about pregnancy, we actually like changed the date of our wedding, moved it up. And what's like we got so lucky, man. We moved up the wedding because Maddie was going to be bigger than she wanted to be in her dress in June. We'd have been 7 months pregnant in June. So we moved it up to March. And literally, dude, we got married on March 7th. And like we had our wedding and then the world shut down. Like the last time we've seen basically anyone was our wedding. And I think it's the same way for everyone who went. It was like just like the campus shut down the next week. And like everyone went COVID in America the next week. So
I think you had the same as us. We were the 15th.
oh, dude, congrats. That's awesome.
No, not I mean the COVID shutdown.
Thank you, man.
The 15th. No, but we got married last year, so all the weddings this year have been canceled or postponed.
Yeah. Or dude, we're having people that like aren't even getting deposits back.
Yeah,
Craziness.
yeah. There's because of this, my I've been having a new influx of people who are in the wedding industry.
Mhm.
There are caterers now reselling. There are wedding photographers reselling. Right now is an odd time because everyone's been spring cleaning for 2 months.
Mhm.
So there's going to be a huge
Rush,
surplus,
rush.
but there's also millions of people who now want to do this.
Yeah. I was talking to my brother or someone about this morning. I was like, isn't it funny how this was like a quote unquote risky, like whatever, it was definitely like not it was like an off the cuff job or whatever, but now it's becoming like reliable. And oh yeah, of course I want to work for myself and not rely on some company who doesn't care about me or whatever it is. Like it's
Yeah,
funny.
it went from, oh, you're unemployed because you want to do this yourself because they don't believe you to, yeah,
Self-employed.
now they're fun employed.
Yeah,
But now they're like, show me how to do it.
truly. Mhm.
And also I think, when you run your own business that has, are most of your goods pre-owned or vintage?
I'd say, yeah, even the ones that aren't, they'd have to be like dead stock. They're old.
I was trying to research how many people do this. I think it's about 400,000 people sell
That's
only pre-owned goods. So I thought that was interesting because when you
worldwide
look
or
at
U.S.
yeah, when you're doing insurance like this, or I'm sorry, 400,000 people have registered a business that do
Oh,
it. That do it.
that's way more. You know how many?
Yeah,
Probably 1 out of 10 people on Instagram that have a vintage page registered as a business.
that's right. So maybe less than that. So
Mhm.
definitely millions of people have sold something. When I heard that Poshmark said that like 9 million individual people had sold something, I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah,
And then you look at these sites that pop up, and then you look at the harder the platform, the more serious the seller. So like Poshmark is super easy to sell. Everyone does that. And you move up to like Amazon is the hardest.
Mhm.
And then you look at the results, like more people make a living Amazon running their own store, brick and mortar, but those are the hardest. The ones that are just easy, that is more of a hobby.
Mhm.
If you put the work in, you put the time in. I was going to ask you this question, but you sort of already answered it, which is like, what does your day to day look like?
Okay, day to day. So nowadays,
Mhm.
especially with baby coming, we got. I'll get up like around 5, and I'll just get into some eBay listings. Actually, after I drown in my phone for like 15 or 20 minutes, I'll go and our employee now, because he's not coming to the store. Our employee Danny, we have him. Our weekly goal, quote unquote, we do 200 to 250 listings on eBay. We have been trying to do like a big concentrated drop on the website. I don't know if you saw like through the Instagram at all, but
Mhm.
either like 100 hat drop this weekend. We have a LL Bean drop coming on Friday, so like 60 vintage LL Bean pieces or whatever, and then just regular items throughout the week. So Danny is at home. What we do with our eBay is we shoot the photos, measurements, flaws, upload the photos with the flaws, and then he jumps on his computer, finishes the draft all the way through, and then saves it. And then I'll go in the mornings, and just because I have like the most experience, kind of have the better handle on like eBay titles and stuff and categories and drop downs, and I'll go in, just buzz through the, how easy if everything's done, I basically just like edit the title and then like a few little drop downs if you didn't fill them out or whatever, and then just activate it. So I'll buzz through and try to activate like 50 listings if I can in the morning. Do that till like 6:37, and then make like smoothie or breakfast and just make a plan for the day, write down like what we got for what we're doing on Shopify, who's doing what for eBay, who's shipping, what are we making for food, are we going to exercise, what are we going to do when we walking the dog. Um, Nowadays, we usually head to the store, around like between like 8 and 10. It's not set, but whenever we're done breakfast and have everything packed, we come over here. We're usually just taking photos, splitting them up between eBay, Shopify, whatever, taking Instagrams, doing our story, whatever, shipping out. We're here at the store till like 3, 4, 5. It can be totally different if we're doing like bigger drops or not, but typically like 3, 4, 5. Head home, try to get a walk or like exercise in, make some dinner, and then just like keep either adding our Shopify's or eBay photos that we took at night, or be like looking for content, or cleaning hats, just whatever. Honestly, it's
That-
always something. You're always trying to flip.
That's amazing. I love it. It's sort of like a business and personal life integrated. It's all
Oh,
just
yeah,
one thing.
there's no separate. Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is my life.
And then as far as fitness, you're keeping up with that, and and I would consider myself mostly vegan. It's
That's
it's easier to stay healthy if you're in my opinion, unless you eat like all bread.
so luckily, like recently, Maddie's parents, they've stopped. And they're not even vegan. They just stopped eating meat.
Right.
They still have some like butter and dairy, but he's like, yeah, I'm not even watching her dad. Like, I'm not even watching what I'm eating.
Yep.
I'm eating whatever I want, and I'm still losing like 2.5 pounds a week. I'm like, yeah, just it's. I won't make this a vegan pocket, but like, there are so many benefits beyond just not killing. You don't have to be a tree hugger.
No.
Many, 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 many virtual benefits to that. So.
And I think that when you start cooking, you
Mhm.
start looking at what's in food. And the thing that blew my mind, I know this is not a health podcast, but I tried to make coffee like I saw some cool recipe of a popular drink, and I'm like, what happens if I put in one? It says like 4 tablespoons of sugar, and I'm like, what if I just do one? You can't taste it at all.
No, it's like,
So I'm like, this is crazy to make it taste like this. It's got to be insane. And we were just looking at like the Impossible Burger too. It's like it's probably healthier to eat regular meat. There's so
yeah.
many chemicals in it.
Well, this again, we won't get too far into this, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's all about which angle you want to take it at. So vegan there are vegan foods that are not healthy. You can eat potato chips and drink beer, and
That's right.
they have vegan Ben and Jerry's now, bro. You can eat if
That's
you're eating the stuff that's packaged. That's where you're gonna find being a vegan is very expensive. You're not really like healthier at the end of the day. That's when you're just making better decisions for the planet and its water and resources and the
yeah.
animal itself, and not performing cruel act or whatever. So yeah.
I'm I love it. I love it. You're all about sustainability. You're saving stuff from the landfill. Here at the Goodwill outlet here, they landfill like 18 semi trucks a day. This is after all the international charities come take stuff. Like they try. In the end, at the end of the day, they are a business and maybe evil or not. But like that's still how much stuff is thrown away. This is stuff that people think is worth saving, so they donate it. The stuff that doesn't even make it, you can't even put a number on how much stuff is thrown away. And I love that the stuff that you're selling, in my opinion, is worth saving.
Mhm.
If you go to Amazon.com, 90% of the website is stuff that you would use and then throw away.
That's the terrible part about it, man.
Terrible. Yep.
People who come in and they want to bust balls about prices or whatever it is. It's like they come in. It's like you're advocating for fast fashion right now. You're coming in and you're going to justify the idea that some corporation's going to pay pennies on the dollar to have someone in poor living conditions make something under even poorer working conditions,
Mhm.
and then they ship it over and make a huge profit and dump the dye into it. Like, there's so many aspects of it. Like, how could you can't justify the idea of that $9 shirt that you washed once and now looks wonky and you have to toss it. That sucks.
That is so crazy that the vintage stuff often lasts longer.
Yeah, it's the best quality. It was made here and it stayed here. I think I don't know the exact numbers on it. I think each study and whatever is going to vary, but every pound of cotton that you reuse, so like cotton t-shirts, 0.6, not exactly a pound, but every pound is like 700, 800 gallons of water. So if you think about it from just the water's perspective, not the chemicals, not the labor, not it's just like you can't deny that. Okay, you like that one just as much, even if they were equal, like you like them just as much, and they were the same price. Ours has like so many more benefits. Like we're going to buy diapers with this money. We're not. It's
Yeah.
not lining anyone's portfolio. You know,
Okay.
you when people recognize who it's going to at the end of the day, they do enjoy it. And I think, like you said, that's why people like to buy from the face. And our struggle right now, like I'm surprised we've even been. I don't do any video stuff. Like I for a long time, I made this about the product, and I try to keep it that way because I don't know. I've just never been like a selfie video, like just got out the thrift. Like I cannot do that, man. I'm not even kidding. I've sat here for like giveaways and stuff, and for a half hour, like tried to record just like four simple sentences, like "Yo, 8 p.m. tonight, everyone who buys a hat gets a free entry into a raffle." I can't even do it just because like
Yeah.
I'm like right outside the generation. Like I was on Snapchat. I'm social media hit, but like I can't get over the awkwardness of like talking to no one, but then it's gonna go to everyone. If that makes like I would rather talk to every one of those people in a crowd.
That's a
Honestly,
great way to put it. Yeah, talking to no one, but everyone sees it.
I can't like break the mental like in my own brain. I just feel so awkward thinking about watching myself. Like if I saw someone in public, I hate that when people are in public and they're like like talking on their phone. Like, oh, that guy's a freaking the worst. Gotta blog your whole life, huh? But that's what does the best, man. People like to support
Hmm.
the faces that they see. It's whatever.
So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today. Why don't we let people know again where they can find you and where they can shop?
Yes, sir. At Mass Vintage is our Instagram. That will funnel you down into the website and everything that we do day to day. We are on TikTok. I made it like last week, but again, it's like a big hump of like trying to get into the new genre of social media, and it's definitely more video and commentary based. So we're on
Oh,
TikTok, but I
all
don't know
right,
how well.
man. Well, thank you so much, and I'm gonna support the store as well. Put everything, all the links everywhere. And this has definitely been one of my best interviews because you're like the American dream. You got a family business. You're recycling goods. You have goods coming to you. All the pieces that are not just you go out and do the best you can. You have built a system of getting stuff and selling it. That theoretically, if you had a store manager, you and Maddie could take a vacation,
Mhm.
and your brother could help. You
Yeah,
actually you've grown it beyond where you could take a break if you want to.
yes,
So
sir.
I love it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for having me. I enjoy the channel a lot. I'll definitely get in on some morning calls.
Bye, guys.